It's the Only One Shot Golf Podcast, and I'm Jim Gallagher. Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. Special thanks to Steve Azar for allowing us to use his music, and you can find Steve at steveazar.com. Don't forget to get your copy of Only One Shot. That's available in Amazon. That was written by B.J. Trolio, the teaching professional at Old Waverly. So go out and get you a copy of that. I guarantee you're going to enjoy that read. Today I have a good buddy of mine that played at the University of Georgia, Jack Larkin. He has played in 17 different USGA events and has played the USAM in 5 different decades. He won the 1979 USGA Junior Boys and then went on to Georgia, had a solid career, but got his amateur status back in 1995. He's got a couple boys, one that played at Georgia and one that's playing now at Walford. It's a really cool story, and I think you're going to get to know Jack a little bit better, and kind of a blast from the past. And I can't wait to hear the podcast and our conversation with Jack Larkin. Well, let's welcome my good friend Jack Larkin to the podcast. Jack, we go way back to our college days when you were at Georgia and I was at Tennessee, and we all got along just fine.
Well, you're kind to have me. I'm honored to be talking with you because you are the daddy.
Well, yeah, and I am a daddy and a granddaddy and all that other stuff. Who'd ever believe
yes,
that
you
back
are.
in the early 80s when we were in college, that nickname that I had would transpire and transform me into a 4-time dad and all that other good stuff. But
yeah, well, before you go any further, I do want to tell you, you were spectacular at the Hall of Fame, Mississippi Golf Hall of Fame induction that you were brought into last weekend. I was there. You knew I was there, but I was in the audience, and I thought you did a spectacular job at your address. So, way to go.
Thank
really
you.
Good one.
Yeah, Randy Watkins went in with me, Ben Nelson, and Lou Hart. And Randy, I was the last speaker. The toughest part, and of course you were there, and you know what it's like, is when my son Thomas introduced me. I knew I had no chance to not cry, but it was a very special moment, and I was really honored. And, I had a script. I had it written. I kind of went rogue a little bit, and I didn't look over at Sissy because I could see her pointing at my, look at your speech, look at it, look at the paper. But it was a cool night and very emotional and just very proud. So happy to see you. Fred Dupree played LSU. He's from Mississippi. There's so many good friends that were there. It was really a cool night, and I appreciate
it. It was a lot of fun.
So it was.
Well, it was a lot of fun. But I was really impressed. You held it together well and did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Way to go.
You were such a good player, and still are. I can't believe we'll get into that. How you're still competitive, but you were a really good player as a junior. But who got you started? Kind of your early influences on as you started playing golf.
Oh yeah, my dad. Okay. My dad. He was a golfer, and he was a pretty good player. He probably had a 6-7 handicap. And probably midway through his life, 50-ish or so, he started having some health issues and heart issues and vascular issues, and so he had to step out of golf. But he, when he was younger, got me into it. When I was about 10 or so, I started caddying for him, and I started playing some. And as you well know, when that kind of stuff happens, it kind of you get hooked, and it's just like, wow, this is really. It's a frustrating game, and it's one of those games that I know I can do better. I got to keep at this.
Yeah. Do you remember the day you got hooked? Do you remember the day that it just kind of grabbed you? Remember that moment?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was similar to the time I got hooked on wine. Not still wine. And there's a day you have an epiphany, and it's very similar. You're just like, oh my gosh, I like that. That's really neat. Cool. But yeah, you hit a few good shots, or you make a good score on a particular hole, or you throw 9 holes together, or you beat one of your little buddies that you play with that you're always so competitive with, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, this is for me. I want to keep doing this.
Yeah, and you win the U.S. Junior in 1979. I think it was Moss Creek down in Hilton Head.
So, yeah, down in Hilton Head, yeah.
Take us through it's been a while, obviously, but
yeah.
Just, what's that like to win a national championship, knowing you've put the time and effort in? Was that a dream? Or was that just like, wow, look what's just happened?
Oh, completely. Yeah, it was. When I was growing up, we had a guy that was an assistant pro, Bobby McKeever. He was an assistant
I know
pro.
Bobby, absolutely.
You know McKeever, yeah. He was assistant pro at Belmead in Nashville, and I grew up in Nashville. before moving to Atlanta. And Bobby had us, he was kind of our unofficial golf coach. And he had our team out in the mornings. He had us up in the mornings, 2 mornings a week, up at Belmead. During the springtime, we'd be up at 5:30, be out at the golf course 6 o'clock, chipping and putting. That's all we did. We could hit a few balls, but it was mainly chipping and putting. And he instilled in our group of 6, 7 guys, he always told us every day, the biggest thing, your objective, right here, right now, your objective is to win the U.S. Junior. That's what you're playing for.
Wow.
That's your whole deal. So I was unable to stay there. My dad got transferred down to Atlanta when I was a junior in high school. And when I came down to Atlanta, I didn't know anyone here. And so I kind of reverted to more golf. And I kind of was, I was always hooked on it, but I just kind of got to that. And I just always remember Bobby McKeever. He's like, you want to win the U.S. Junior. That's your objective. And so I thought, well, that'd be a cool thing to do. I could do that. And so I started practicing more, and I started going out to the golf course in the morning, 2, 3 mornings in the springtime before school. I'd drive out. I was 16. I had access to a car, so I could drive golf course, and I'd practice. And it was just chipping and putting. It wasn't hitting balls. It wasn't the old driving range. It was the most important stuff, of course, as you and I know, chipping and putting. And got confidence in that, and my golf just kind of took off and ended up winning the tournament. And it was one of those things that it was in my mind for a number of years leading up to it. And then when it actually happened, it was an almost anticlimactic. It was odd, right? I'll never forget the last hole. Billy Tootin and I were playing in the final match, and I hit a good one off the tee, tied going to 18. It was a really great match, and Billy hit one a little bit left, did at Moss Creek, and I hit one down the fairway, and I hit my second one up on the green, and he had some tree trouble, and he ended up hitting one into the trees and couldn't find it. He ended up conceding the hole, and I'm walking up to the green. I'm on the green, and I'm thinking, I just won. Well, that was really cool. Okay, well, what next? Now what? Now what am I going to do?
Yeah, you thought
really
you reached the
sink in.
pinnacle, but you didn't.
Yeah. And so it really didn't sink in, and probably till years later. And but over the years, it's become one of those things that it was a really neat accomplishment. It was a lot of fun to do, but it I think it helped me in so many different ways from a standpoint of being goal oriented and setting goals for all types of aspects of my life and my marriage and my kids' lives, and just so it is. I've always been a huge fan of sports and the life lessons that they can teach you, as you well know, and you've done it. You've been around it for years, and I just think that the work ethic, hard work, and integrity, and particularly in golf, because you call penalties on yourself when you do something that no one else sees, and so it's golf in particular just seems to be such a lifelong sport. And so many people that didn't play when we were kids that now play, and every single one of them to a T. Man, I wish I had played when I was younger.
Yeah,
I wish I'd have done that.
I know.
And you're like, yeah, we tried to tell you, but you didn't want to do it.
So match play versus medal, and we got a lot of kids, parents, players. Did working on your short game, putting, all those hours working on a putting green, that has to help. But what's the different mentality for you? Because you've played in a lot of USGA events. We'll get into that in a minute. But that mentality of match play versus medal.
Oh, man, I think, obviously, in today's day and age, we play so little match play. I hate it because I love match play. I just think it's so much more fun. It's so, it's one-on-one. It's fabulous. You do it as a kid with your pals. You do it at your club when you're at home. You do it in so many other areas of golf, but competitive amateur and professional golf now is so little match play, because I guess it just doesn't, quote, sell. But it's so fun, and everybody I know that does it likes it so much more than medal play. And not to say that you can make a 10 and it doesn't matter, but that's just kind of part of it. But to me, match play has always been so much fun because of the fact that you are playing one-on-one. And my mentality in match play has always been never, ever, ever assume that your playing partner is going to mess up.
Yeah.
You always have to assume the worst as far as what you're concerned. If I'm on the green and two on a par four and I got an 8-footer for a birdie, and my playing partner's buried in the trap in two, and he can't even get it out of there, and maybe he doesn't get it out in two or three, and then I can't assume that he's going to make a bogey and I'm going to make a birdie and I'm going to win this hole. I'm assuming that he's going to hold that fourth shot after he got it out of the buried lie. I still got to make this putt to win the hole. So you can't ever assume that your partner's going to, or your opponent is going to do poorly. You have to assume he's going to do better than you think he's going to do.
That's exactly what Tom Watson told us at the Ryder Cup. Expect the unexpected. And it's such a great lesson in match play. And, the NCAA is going to match play now. We're seeing the conferences go to that. We're seeing it kind of make a little bit of a comeback. I would think just the putting matches on the putting green, the one-on-one, that's got to be huge. Bobby, you had so many, and for a lot of folks out there, Bobby McKeever is one of the bright minds in golf. And like I said, Bill Meade, he was the Country Club of Jackson. He taught so many great players like yourself. And he put his life effort into junior golf. And I think that it's passed on down through y'all. But you go to the University of Georgia and have a very solid career there. And now you've had a son, Jack Jr., play there. What have you seen the difference in college golf from maybe when you were there to maybe when your son Jack was there?
Oh gosh, I think when I was there, it was so much more casual. And that not to say that it was not any more competitive, but it just seemed like the process was so much more casual. It has become so much more, what do you say, intense, I guess.
Yeah, just it's a job almost.
Well, junior golf, junior and recruiting and, playing in the quote right tournaments and getting your name out there. And I think it's just become so much more intensified and intense. It doesn't seem like it was nearly as, it doesn't seem like it was nearly that much of a process when we were younger.
Well, you're a parent now. I mean, it was the recruiting process not even the same when we were playing. You were a parent. Jack that played at Georgia. You got another son playing at Walford. What advice do you have for the parents or the kids listening when maybe they're choosing a college or, like you said, picking the right tournaments to play in? What advice do you have for them?
Well, Jim, I think I have probably, at least all my friends tell me this, I'm probably not the norm in today's world in that respect, in that I think that when I was younger, when we were junior golfers and we played junior golf, I was fortunate to probably learn a lesson from some of the kids that didn't benefit most from their parents. And there's a lot more parents that are that hover type parent now than there ever were. But when we were kids, there might have been one or possibly two where their dad was just really tough on them. He was watching every shot. He was scrutinizing everything they did. And most of the time, those guys were pretty good players, and somehow they could fend it off, and they didn't, it didn't bother them. But I just saw these dads being so overbearing and overpowering. And again, not many of them, but there was a couple that I always said to myself, if I'm ever a parent, I don't want to be like that. I will not be like that. And so when I had kids, I'm very fortunate, 3 boys, and when they were coming up, I wanted them to do what they wanted to do. Well, they would play baseball, basketball, football. They played it all. And I gave them access to golf, but I never pushed them into playing. I'd bribe them by saying, you can come to the golf course with me, you can drive a golf cart, or we can get a snack at the halfway house. You can get a candy bar or a Coke. And that kind of at times would get them there at least. And then when they're there, they can do whatever they want. If they want to hit a ball here or if they want to putt, that's great. But if you don't, I want you to do what you want to do. It's your life, not mine.
That's great advice, because I'll tell you what, I bribe my kids because I've got 3 daughters, and it's tougher girls playing because a lot of times they got to play with the boys, and it's a little uncomfortable. But I would give them $5 if they practiced for an hour. I'd give them 10 if they played 18, 5 if they played 9. And this is a true story. So knowing my oldest, Mary Langdon, who played at Mississippi State, and she was a soccer player, basketball, just like you said, track, all those sports. And to get her kind of interested, I had a buddy of mine that was a pro in Fort Wayne do the same thing. And lo and behold, she starts to practice more, plays more. And I come up with this bright idea that I thought was bright at the moment, that she could never do it, is if you break 80, I'll double what you've saved. And then she does it. I said, all right, if you break 75, I'll do it. 72. Long story short, about $3,000 or $4,000 later, that went straight into her college account. And so if you do make you got to make sure you, if you make, don't make the bet. Make sure you pay, but don't make the bet like that. But and I did the same for the other kids. And Kathleen, who played at LSU, and she said, well, Dad, you never paid me. I said, well, you didn't invoice me. There's a big difference. You got to invoice me like your older sister. So.
Got her on a technicality.
Got her on a technicality, so I bought her a car. So,
I love it.
But I love it. I think you're right. I see golf almost becoming a little like tennis, where parents are, and I get it. And you have to have a budget out there because you could spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a summer. And 90% of parents can't do that. So you have to be wise about that. And it's like an investment, but it's not because you're invested in their life. I think the biggest lesson is if you're doing it to get a golf scholarship, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think you need to be aware of that. And you obviously, you handle it the right way. And you need to push them. There's times to push. But, I mean, I see it more and more, and it's amazing how good these kids are. They're more experienced, and like college golf. I mean, I didn't really see my golf swing until I was maybe a junior or senior in college, and my dad was my sole teacher. But now it's
well, you didn't need to because it always you every time you swing, you just look down the fairway and there's the ball. You never needed.
Or in the left trees because I used to hit a hook, and when I got on tour, I had to play a fade because I got tired of the left trees. But no, it did. The story always. My teammates and we know we've had zillion putting matches. Georgia, Tennessee, we're all good friends. And if I didn't play well, I didn't practice because I didn't want to practice something bad. And if I played well, I already had it down, and so I didn't practice. I always had that kind of reputation, but I just love to play. And as you get older, you don't have as much time to practice, and playing so much more fun. But
I wanted to tell you one other thing though, because you mentioned it just a minute ago, but it was about juniors and playing and figuring out schedules and stuff like. I was very fortunate when we started having kids. And it's going to sound odd, but I was very fortunate that I didn't have unlimited funds to cart my kids around to all these different venues and go to as I told my kids growing up, once they did get interested in golf, which I said, if you don't want to play golf, it's fine. I'd love it because, give me someone to play with. But if you don't, it's fine. Do what you want to do. But then they gravitated toward it and they got interested in it. And they came to me and they always stressed about, well, we got to play in this tournament. I got to play in the AJGA. I got to get in that and get these points, and I got to do this. And that's how I'm going to get noticed. And I just said to them, I said, boys, those are expensive. Mm-hmm. Those are the money doesn't grow on trees, and we don't have one of those trees in our backyard. And if we did, I don't know if I'd know how to go out there and cut those dollars off.
Yeah.
But so. We can't do that now, and you're going to have peers that can. You're going to have friends of yours and good players, and maybe not even as good players, but they're going to do that, and you're going to be not shamed into it, but you're going to be kind of forced into trying to go down that road, and we're not going to be able to do that. So we can't spend all this money and fly somewhere and play in a tournament and spend 3 or 4 nights in a hotel and et cetera, et cetera. So. As I told them, I said, boys, at the end of the day, the bottom line for junior golf particularly is it doesn't matter where you play. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be American Junior. Now, American Junior is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I played in them, and I played in the first American Junior there was, and they're fantastic, and they're an unbelievable organization. And my hat's off to what they've done. But it's not. It can't be for everyone just because it is. It's difficult to play all those. But as I told the boys, I said, it doesn't matter where you play well. As long as you play well, you're going to get noticed.
That's true.
So you can play well at your local Atlanta Junior Golf Association. You can play well in your local 18-hole group here. You shoot good scores, people are going to know who you are, and they're going to recruit you, and they're going to want you to come play for them. And so if it's on a national level, fantastic. If it's on a local level, if you do it consistently and you do it well, they're going to find you.
Well, Todd Thompson, who played at Georgia, runs the SJGTs. Another good option.
Oh,
there's plenty of options
fantastic.
out there.
Plenty of options. And we played in tons of those.
And I think the coaches got into the thing as we have to go to. And I'm like you. I'm a big fan of the AJGA and all that. They got into the habit of just going to the AJGA events. Give me a kid that's playing the SJGT that maybe doesn't have a lot of money, that's got a lot of talent. That's your diamond in the rough, because everybody's got a 1 and 2. It's your 3, 4, and 5 guys that win you national championships in college. And I think it's kids like that and parents like you who have an idea. Let's not get crazy here. Let's pick the right ones. And I think it's also got to go on a level. If you're winning locally, you're winning statewide, and then you go nationally. To jump out into the fire, spend all that money, you got to be aware of that.
And I mean, that's some people are and some people aren't. So I guess I was just fortunate that I did, because it was a necessity. Yeah. Even in the SJGT, I told the boys, I said, all right, boys, they would come to me and say, I want to play at this tournament, this tournament, this tournament, the SJGT. And I said, get a schedule. Figure out a schedule that you want to play in. And they'd come to me, and I would have to nix this tournament because, that's not in Columbus. Here are the tournaments you can go to. You can go to a tournament in Columbus, Georgia. You can go to one in Augusta, Georgia. You can go to one in Macon, Georgia. You can go to one in certain towns where I have friends, where we can go stay with our friends.
Yeah.
I say, we're not going to go spend 3 or 4 nights in a hotel. We got to go stay with our buddies, and you can play in those tournaments. And the other ones, can't make those.
Well, and that's the thing.
It was fine.
And you just as a parent have to be aware of that, because you can get caught up in chasing the points and doing the things, and coaches. If you're good, the word of mouth's out there. There's this thing called the internet.
They're gonna find you. They're gonna find you.
There's too many people.
There's no doubt.
Too many alums. I mean, you look at Georgia where you went to school. Good Lord, you got so many players that have played on tour. That word gets passed along. No doubt about that. You turned pro for a little while, but you stayed amateur. Got your amateur status back in '95. It's changed now, because I think you get your amateur status back pretty quickly. But what a career you've had playing in amateur golf. And we mentioned the USGA, the US Junior. But you've played in a USAM in 5 different decades. Now, I'm not a genius, but that's a long time. And you've been very competitive. How many USGA events have you played in? Because there's the 4-ball, the USAM, the Junior. I know it was at 14, but I think it's more than that.
I think it's 17. I was fortunate. It was fun. 3 years ago, down in the U.S. 4-ball, I played with my best friend's son.
Yes.
I was 56 and he's 28, so it literally was twice his age. And we played and did well. We ended up losing in the quarterfinals, but it was a lot of fun. A great tournament. That tournament, I love that the USGA put that tournament in and replaced it with the old pub links.
Mm-hmm.
They had the U.S. Amateur and then the U.S. Amateur Pub Links, and they got rid of the Pub Links because they just found out that most of the kids were just signing up to be public players through their college golf course, which generally was a public course.
They're taking advantage of the system.
It was a good move.
Yeah, because my daughter Kathleen and Kendall Griffin, who played with her at LSU, who had an extra year, went to Louisville, having an incredible year in college. They made it to the semifinals of the women's 4-ball, and they had an absolute blast.
It's a neat tournament.
What's it like for a 56-year-old man playing with his best friend's son against all these young guys? How do you stay competitive? What are the things you do to stay competitive? Because, man, they hit it so far, and they're so good. And you've got a job as well. Yeah, I've got that thing called a job. I'm very fortunate in that my sister, my brother, and my brother-in-law, and I have this little company that we are just regional marketing reps for small wineries. Mm-hmm. And so I've got flexibility in my job, in that the majority of my job entails travel. I go travel and promote our wines throughout the Southeast. And so I have a lot of flexibility, and that's a good thing. And because of that, it's offered me the possibility of, I've always viewed longevity in golf. To me, it equates to just staying in good condition. Mm-hmm. And so
I'm very fortunate. My wife is a very well-conditioned person. She loves exercising. She always has. She's always done a great job of it, and she pushes me to continue to do that. And so I'm probably in better shape now than I was in 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But and it's helped, and it completely helps with golf. And I don't hit it as far as those young guys, but I think, I hope that over the course of the 40-something years I've played golf, or probably more than that, but I don't want that doesn't
Don't
sound
count
pretty
those
good.
up. That's not going to sound good to you.
No, don't. Well, all the time I play golf, I think I've learned some stuff, and I hope I've learned some stuff. As far as how to play, it used to be, a lot of times we go out and play golf swing, and now it's go play golf, and so it's fun to me. I mean, I love it. It's competitive. It's competing, and it's not an external battle. You're not
Right.
competing against the world. You're competing against yourself, and you know that better than anyone. Playing on a tour for 27 years,
For a while.
25 years.
Yeah, for a while.
I mean, that's a long time, and to do that with that type of success, sure, it's competitive, and sure, you have to be. You got to stay in the top 125 to keep your tour card, but that all boils down to that competitiveness and being internal. Can you be yourself? Can you stay out of your own way? Can you continue to convince yourself that you're good enough to do this? Can you? And you don't have to tell anybody that, because it's all in your head. And so, I don't know. It just is one of those things that keeps driving me, and I have got interest to continue. And I will, as long as I keep my health. I'm gonna play competitive senior golf.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Flexibility is huge, folks.
Sure.
And as you get older, it gets tougher and tougher, as you said. But I think just the question I always ask my guests, and you've played against some of the best amateurs. You've played at the college level. I mean, what separates that elite player from the rest? You mentioned some of that stuff just when you were answering that last question, but there's a little something different that they have, isn't there?
Yeah. There's no question. There's an internal confidence. A lot of times you hear guys talk about certain guys. Oh, that guy's so cocky. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe he has a little bit more of his external confidence. He wants you to know how good he is, so he can try to intimidate you. But generally, the best guys. I mean, I think about a Herschel Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Herschel Walker was in school when I was in school. Herschel would carry that ball, that football, and he would just kill it. And Heisman Trophy winner, just incredible athlete, but an incredible person. And they asked him one time, they said, Herschel, how can you carry that ball 45, 46, 48 times a game? He's like, oh, it's okay. It's not very heavy.
Yeah.
Very, very humble fella, but he had an internal confidence.
Yeah.
He had it, and he knew it. And golf is even more so like that. And, it's just one of those things that if those guys that excel and separate themselves, I think they know that. And they know that even when they don't perform particularly well, or they even have a period of time when they don't perform particularly well, they still have it in them. And they still know in them, okay, I'm not on the right track, but I know it's there. I know it's going to come back. I just got to be patient. I got to get down the right track and figure out. I need some help.
Yeah.
You need help. You need some instruction, and you do need hard work. But you can't do it alone. You can't see yourself swing. You can't. You get the feedback of what the ball's doing. But it's funny that you say you didn't see your swing until you were on the pro tour. It's like, God, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had feedback. If you're doing this is going to happen. If your hips are stalling at impact, that ball is going left.
Yeah.
It's
not
true.
Your
Your hands are going to take over. It's going left. But people don't think in those terms these days because they're looking at the TrackMan and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. How is your golf, or has your golf helped you in the wine business? How are you? Because a lot of folks that are listening, golf is an avenue, a way to get into customers, playing along. Has it helped you any, being such a good player and still playing competitively? Does that help you in your business?
Sure. Yeah. I would say in my particular business, it probably hasn't helped as much as if I was in the real estate business or in the insurance business, or there are other businesses that I could be in that I could really use it more to my advantage. However, I use it to my advantage. I've got a restaurateur, a good pal of mine who buys wine from us from up in North Carolina, coming down next week. He's going to come down. We're going to play golf, and he does it once a quarter or so. And I'll see him up in North Carolina, and he'll come down here. So, I get to use it. I get to use it to an extent. Probably, again, not as much as in other businesses, or I would be. But it's sure. I think that anybody that has a skill that people tend to aspire to, it helps them. It helps them gain a little something on the next guy. And so, sure, it's fantastic.
What's the name of the business?
Pacific Southern Wine Company.
Okay.
And we're just
Not
real small.
So you're just kind of stay in the region more or less when you're.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So if you look at all those tournaments you played in, you said you loved the 4-ball. It's one of your favorites. It's always nice to hear what people think is their favorite golf course.
Yeah, it's hard for me to have one, but Royal County Down over in Ireland. I've been over there a few times with Jeff Knox. He's a member, and he takes us over there occasionally, and we've had a ball over there. Pine Valley, I think, is just spectacular. It's got such the golf course is so spectacular, and the aura. Belmead, Thompson, Georgia.
Yeah,
fantastic. Not the Belmead in Nashville, Tennessee. Right. Belmead in Thompson, Georgia.
Yeah,
really a cool little golf course that will just eat your lunch.
Well, you're leaving one out. Peachtree.
Peachtree's fantastic. It's my favorite golf course in Georgia, no question. It's fabulous. It's one of my top 5 in the country. I just think it doesn't ever get old, and it's just fabulous. And the whole aura with Bobby Jones, him starting the golf course in 1947, and just being the main driving force in it. It's a special place, very special.
You mentioned Jeff Knox. We always hear he's playing as kind of a fill-in there when there's a single at the Augusta. Such a good member at Augusta, but you beat him in the Georgia Senior Am. That had to be a pretty cool moment for you to win that and beat some really good players.
Oh, it was fun. It was one of those deals. It was over in Augusta at Augusta Country Club, and Jeff and I we've known each other forever. We were fraternity brothers in Georgia, so we've been pals for a long time, and we go on golf trips, and we've got a group that is just Peter Person. You know Peter, Peter Person. So you played with him on the tour. Mike Brown. We've got a group of guys that are just really close, and we just have a ball together, and we're very fortunate in that respect. And that when we found out that the senior amateur was going to be over at Augusta Country Club, you'll remember Wright Waddell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Columbus, Georgia. So when he played with us at Georgia, you knew him. And Waddell and I were going to go stay with Jeff Knox for the tournament and have a big time, have fun. And ended up the week before Waddell called, he got the shingles. He got them bad, and so he couldn't come. So I went over and stayed with Jeff, and we just had a ball. And then we ended up playing in the last group the last day, and so it was even more fun. So just one of those.
You mentioned Wright Waddell. How about the high school team they had at Columbus? Madden Hatcher, Carter Mize, who played at Auburn. Lord, it was a college team.
Yeah, it was a college team. It was a young college team.
How so many good players in Georgia. That has to help continuing to play against some of the best, to know you're playing against some of the best. I've had John Tillery, I've had plenty of guys on there from Georgia, Scott Hamilton. And, what's the deal with so many good players? And it has to keep playing against the best, has to continue to help the younger generation, knowing that, look at these guys and playing against them, it's got to be good for competition.
Well, I think about it. Madden Hatcher and Madden won the U.S. Junior in 1976 out of Colorado. And I knew Madden a little bit growing up, but he and I roomed together my first year at Georgia. And so I had won the junior in 79. And so fast forward until, I guess it was 2002 or 3, Brian Harmon won the junior.
Yep.
And Madden and I both were trying to get him to come to Georgia. We were trying to convince him, dude, you got to come to Georgia. We need a third U.S. Junior champ. And there was only 3 in the state. We were the only 3 guys in the state that had won the U.S. Junior. But then when I look at guys, the senior am, I mean, there's been 3 guys now that have won the senior am in the state. And it is Bill Plager won, Bob Royak won, and then Doug Hansel. So they've had 3 senior amateurs win the USGA senior amateur. So I mean, there's been a lot of guys here in the state that have, and I think you're right. I mean, I just kind of, when you go, you can't just kind of go lollygag.
Well, back to Bobby Jones. I think back to Bobby Jones. I mean, he laid the print right there in the history. It's just amazing the history that Georgia has. Of course, we always talk about Augusta, but just all the great players. You mentioned University of Georgia, and I know you got to get going here. But, man, Chris Hack has done a great job. What is going on over at Georgia to continue to keep all these great players? Is there a secret? And I think another thing is the alums come back and support it.
But there's a secret, Jim, but I can't tell you.
That's why it's a secret, right? But how special is that to see how your alma mater is continuing to have great success?
Well, it's fabulous, and when Hacker became coach over there, he really took a different approach, and it's been 20. It's been 25 years.
Yeah, I've had him on the podcast. Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah, he's up there with us in age.
But he took a completely different approach to that was either being taken there or being taken in college golf in general. I guess Coach Holder was one of the only few doing anything like what Hack did, but he did it before him. But he got people involved. Hack knew there was an endless line of people, of alumni from Georgia, not just golf team alumni, but alumni from Georgia in general, from UGA, that were interested in the golf team and that wanted to get involved with the golf team and wanted to support the golf team. But that endless line had never really been tapped into. And so Hacker was the first one that really promoted that. And he started the Bulldog Open, and all the proceeds go to the golf team and not just the general scholarship fund. He started a biannual match of alumni golf members. And Peter Persons, and it's a full ball. And Peter Persons and I still go back and play every time. And so everybody comes back, and the tour players come back, and they stay involved. And Hacker really started that process fabulously. That hadn't been that way before he got there. And I think that type of thing, it's only a matter of time until you're going to have success. And then he started it, and then a couple of years later, he won the NCAAs, and then he started getting all those guys out on the tour, and he's just continuing. I mean, they just continue to come on.
Yeah, because Tennessee's doing it. Brennan Webb's doing the same thing. We never had an alumni get together maybe one time. And then in the last 4 years, Stuart Smith, who played with me, has done it. And with the support of, like you said, not just ex-golfers, but just other people who love the golf program. And Coach Webb's done a great job in Knoxville with that. And we've had that success, kind of like guys like Chris Hack doing it. You had to get the alum involved, and I think that's important.
I mean, just to tap into those resources and it takes effort. It's not like it just happens, and you can't just make one call and something like that happens. But so it does take effort, and it takes a big effort, and it takes you recruiting more alumni. So Hacker was able to recruit guys from Athens. He went out and got some guys that were interested and want to get involved, and it started there, and it just swelled. And so my hat's off to him for what he's done. He's done a great job up there, and I just think that everybody has benefited from it, and not only the players, of course, and then they've gone on to they've got this sure enough, this winning. They say it's not the PGA Tour; it's the UGA Tour.
I heard it. I've heard it.
Jokingly,
y'all win one football national championship in 300 years, and now y'all got all the national championships.
Well, and you and I both know things are cyclical. It's not going to be like this forever. So we wish it would, but it's not going to be. So
it's been going pretty good.
In the grand scheme of things, we've had a good run here in the last several years, so we'll hope that it keeps up.
What's up? The spring's coming along. What's your tournament schedule like? What are you going to play in? And anything coming up anytime soon? I'm going to keep an eye on you now.
Yeah. Well, I was. I got to get another USGA tournament in. I found out. I didn't know this, Jim, and you probably did because you're probably closer to all this than I am. But that WAGR, the World Amateur Golf Rankings.
Yep.
I didn't know that the USGA used that so much now.
Yep.
I guess they use it in the US Amateur and even in the Mid Am. But in the Senior Am, the top 25 in the WAGR ratings for senior players are exempt for the Senior Amateur. And so that's been an objective of mine for the last several months. I was fortunate. A friend of mine, Greg Greenbaum, and his dad, Jerry, they alerted me to the fact that was the case. And so they said, we need to go play in some of these senior things and get into that top 25. I said, all right. So then I went and won the Senior Am for Georgia, and then played in the Society of Seniors event a couple weeks after that and finished second. And I look up, and I was fifth on the WAGR rating. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty good.
Absolutely.
I need to do that more.
See, no, it's because they do. They use that, and I didn't realize they use it as much for the senior part of it. But it's a great way to get exempt. Of course, you got to play well.
Well, again, it goes back to that same old. Yeah.
Have you played in the Senior U.S. Open yet? Because you've played about everything else.
Yeah. I've been to two of the Senior Opens.
Okay.
One of them, actually, the last one, was out at the Broadmoor
with my brother Jeff. That's right. You told me that the other night.
Brother Jeff.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I hadn't seen him in years, and I ran into him out there and just had a ball with him. We had a great time.
That's right. You did tell me that the other night, and I do remember that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool when you look back at all the USGA events that you've played in. To think of that run you've had. But I appreciate you spending some time with us, and I can't wait to keep watching. And I got to come over and play Peachtree. I've never played it. You said you just had your hip replaced, so I know you're walking.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go out and get in shape, though, if I'm going to come over there and play with you and walk.
You can do whatever you want. You can walk, you can ride. I just want you to come play. I had such a ball. You've always been such a fun guy. Even when we were in college, that was one of the things. We always gravitated towards the Tennessee team. Our Georgia team always gravitated to it. It was you and Stuart Smith and John Hamrick, and it was just y'all were just a fun bunch of guys, good players and fun guys, and wanted to be around them. And so it was. I really got a kick out of seeing you the other night over there in Jackson, getting into that Mississippi Hall of Fame. That was great. So.
It's cool because that's for the listeners. These are friends you make for a lifetime, and we hadn't seen each other in years. And it was we have just left off where we were on a putting green in Augusta, playing at Westlake for the USCCs. It just was the same.
That's right.
That's the beauty, I think, of college golf, and I think that's what's helping the U.S. Ryder Cup team now. These guys have all played golf together against each other, some on the same teams. I think it's just these are lifetime memories and friends you'll have forever, and that's the beauty. And that's our beauty of our game. But
so true. And to that point, I will tell you, and you would probably agree with this though. For junior golfers and college recruits, you think about where to go play golf. You want to play at a big time school, and you want to do the big time, Division I and this and that. And as we talked about, it doesn't matter where you play, just go play well. But one of the things that I would stress to parents and kids is pick a place where you know what the age is of these kids. If you're going to be a freshman coming in, if they got 4 seniors, then you want to know them, but they're not going to be there while you're there.
True.
So if they've got a couple of freshmen the next year, if they got some sophomores, but the camaraderie. You want to have camaraderie with these guys, and you want to have a fun team that you can get together with, and you can be competitive, and you can play. And I think it means a lot, not only for, as you said, the longevity factor, because I still got friends. I mean, my closest friends are my college golf mates, college teammates, still. And not that that's what you're after when you go to play college golf, but I think that if there's a camaraderie there and there is that base mentality is fairly the same, that it can do nothing but help. And you go out and you have contests, and you have chipping contests and putting contests, and you play against each other, but you're playing with each other, and you want to beat him, but you want him to do well. And so I think it means a lot. And so I think that kids you really need to look at that when you go look at a college. And to me, it's more important that chemistry than it is the reputation of the college or the reputation of the university you're going to play for.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
that's a great way to end it. That's great advice. Another thing I always tell the kids, go somewhere if you never played, if you got hurt, you missed a trip, that you would be comfortable if it gets down to one or two schools. And all those things go into the decision. It's tough decisions, but go where you think you're going to be the happiest. Jack, I appreciate you being with us. And
you give people advice like that because you're the daddy.
Well, I am the daddy, and it's so good to catch back up with you. We got to keep together a little bit more often, and definitely when I come towards Atlanta, we'll go play. We don't play the back tees because I play forward now, not the red tees, but the forward tees.
No, we're seniors. Okay. We can do that.
All right, brother. All right. Well, good luck to you, man.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jim.